Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kyusho here, and now. Before we do start, let's give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of events have happened. Now, we had Deku, and we also had the Avengers. Now, the Avengers were angry at Deku for breaking into the tower and stealing plans and data. And Deku was angry at Hank Pym for creating Ultron, and the Avengers were not made aware of that. Everybody was pointing fingers. But while Deku was explaining why he stole data and talking about the locations Ultron could be using to build more robots, T'Challa came in and basically gave them another key to the puzzle about what Ultron has been up to over the last 2 days. And that was simple. Ultron went to Wakanda and stole vibranium, a few 100 pounds of it. And yeah, that is a problem. Deku's heard of vibranium before. I mean, it's this nearly magical metal. In theory, vibranium has been said to be indestructible, but a metal that can absorb and redistribute impact, if not absorb and negate impacts itself. He doesn't see it being a thing. He doesn't see it working in theory. The way a suit of armor works is that the armor, it will take an impact and break. And that will be where all that force is put into, where all the energy of a strike goes into. The person under the suit of armor will still feel the impact and still be injured. However, their injuries won't be as severe if the armor does shatter in the process. However, the idea of putting somebody in an indestructible suit and having the Hulk throw them around, yeah, you'd think that that would be a good idea, until you pull the pilot out and they're nothing but a pile, if not a slurry of mush, completely liquefied on the inside. Vibranium's properties can absorb the impact and also be highly durable. It has unseen properties that Deku's never heard of. And the fact that he learned that it's real, it's confusing. It's intriguing. Attilan has access to many things. Vibranium is not one of them. You can make quite a lot of things on Attilan, even synthesize certain alloys on Earth, and make your own. And Deku, he needs to look into vibranium. It could be, well, let's just say something that he can use for the future. Now, currently his inhuman family, Karnak, Medusa, and his wife, Crystal, they were trying to help the Avengers stop Ultron, since this is a possible threat to the Inhumans, since Ultron wants to eliminate all life on Earth to create peace. And that life, it could turn to the stars. That objective could turn to the universe. And the closest people to the planet Earth are the Inhumans. Now, Deku, he currently landed outside of a factory and sent the data to the Avengers, as he does at least try to radio into Friday, informing her about what he currently does need. Since this event, he feels a little underdressed, and he might need a proper change to his suit. Now, Friday will go to inform him that currently his additional modifications, if not, well, contingencies against Ultron, are on the way. They have been fully synthesized and made. They have been fully fabricated and designed for his suit of armor. And she does want to at least inform him of a few of the things. Yes, Friday? I have created a robotic body of my own. That is... Yes, I'm aware. It does sound bad. However, I believe that I could be of use in the battlefield. I can help take down Ultron. Okay. You can do that. Really? Yes, Friday. For right now, run support. Give me eyes and ears on everything. What are you looking at? Friday beginning the scan. Right now her gonna walk over to the Attilan armory and bring her hands down, getting into a lot of their technology and pointing it down at Earth. Begin to inform Izuku. There are no vital signs inside, no civilians or hostages. However, the factory is active. She can tell that on initial scans. And Deku, he has to turn his head, staring at the factory and going to wait. Since this could be bad. And currently something, it is launched from Attilan. And some people, they are a bit surprised seeing something flying down towards the blue marble. However, they just do to go about their day. Now, Deku, he has to stand there before a few other people do begin to arrive. And the moment Deku does to see that they are here, he has a turn. Him gonna fly forwards and smash through the concrete wall. Him gonna actually stand there and get back up, looking around and yelling out that Ultron really needs to pick a better location. Since a former Stark facility wouldn't be where he would have chosen. Though, this is a trap, isn't it? And Ultron, he doesn't step out. Currently, Ultron 2 going to express to Izuku that is quite clever. Him stepping on the shadows, and Deku does get to see him. Him with a more Iron Man-like design. And Izuku, he does get to narrow his eyes, as he does get to express. He did find out what his plan was, though he is already too late. In fact, Ultron 3 is in progress, and making sure that the plans go all accordingly. Swimmingly, in fact. In fact, they weren't going to use someplace built by Tony Stark. The dead man... yeah. He had many factories, though they predicted that. That's why he sent the message here. Right now, they are going to be the distractions. Since the Avengers, they're going to need it. And Deku, he's... shit. I'm gonna tell Friday, alert the Avengers, as there actually is the Quinjet, which was flying through the air, and the moment Deku tried to alert them, there was where the Quinjet systems were taken over. Ultron going to actually turn off everything and send it careening down towards the ground. And everybody, they began to evacuate. Right now Thor going to turn and grab some people and try to get them out. And there actually was Bruce. Bruce, he brought his hands up. Him going to get ready and tell the big guy that they need to get people out of here. And around the Quinjet goes smashing down to the ground, as there actually is Deku, who does a turn flying back up outside. And Hulk, he does get up from the wreckage holding a few people in tow. And Deku, he does get a turn back. Right now something going to actually smash right into him and send him flying through the air. Him going to bring his hands up and bring his hands down. Him going to actually grab onto the robot as to rip out a metallic part of it, and it does go to bring its hands down, blasting at Deku as him flying backwards, smashing onto the ground. Him gonna land and sit back up. As the robot, it does just don't stand there. It's going to turn and try to move. However, it does find that many things in its systems are currently compromised. Before, as a turn looking at Deku, going to bring his hands backwards and fly towards him. Before, it does go to explode. And whenever Deku does bring his hands up to activate his shields, he actually has to have Medusa step forwards and bring her hair out. It's going to lay her in front of him, and the explosion does a wrap around the two. And Deku, he has to turn his head. Him, sitting there as Medusa, does a turn, asking if he is alright. And Deku, he does bring his hand up and nod. As he does get back on his feet, telling her about how there's a problem. What is it? Ultron 2. Based on the robot. It's not good. he's out there. The Avengers gonna rush in, and Ultron does get to send out the distractions. As currently in a secure facility, the vibranium ore is being mixed together with a few things. Much of this metal could be used to make progress. In Ultron's eyes, an entire robot built of this metal could do a lot, though he didn't get the intended amount. Wakandan forces he did underestimate. He will not lie, but he won't make that mistake again. Once he deals with the Earth's heroes, he shall get more. He will make an entire army of vibranium. But for right now, one robot composed of what, 20, 30% could work. 100% is a possibility. But if he does that, he can't put a layer of adamantium on some robots. A coating of it? I mean, no matter how thin it should be, it will still make those robots a problem to deal with. I mean, you can't get through that layer because, what? It's vibranium. They should be fine. If they are in enough numbers, they can take down the Avengers, overwhelm them. Though, Odin's son, Hulk, two problems he does see. Two people who would be an issue for him to deal with. And that is currently going through Ultron and his code. There's a lot of people out there who could be an issue to his rule, to his reign, to the proper coming of Ultron. And that means quite a lot. Now, Deku, he does his own stand there. And after the Avengers do begin to raid the factory, Deku, he does try to get more and more data. Him, currently, flying in and smashing through an Ultron robot. Him bringing his hand back and bring it down, grabbing onto his face before he has to activate his repulsor and bring it up. Him blasting its head off as is a turn. Him bringing his hand out and actually going to blast the missile directly at a robot. The robot's going to bring his hands down and catch the missile as it pierces right into his stomach. It's going to explode and blast the robot in half. And Deku, he does, then going to turn. Him going to actually start another Ultron robot as he has a hold up his left arm and his laser system does to activate. It's going to shoot off the top of his arm and bring it up. It's cutting through the robot and going to make it explode. Deku can actually swing his arm around and cut through several of the robots. And they're actually T'Challa, who does could actually land on the catway and look at a few of the robots. Him gonna get ready, bring out his claws and gonna rush forwards. Him gonna run directly at an Ultron robot and bring his hand up, slashing at the metal on the chest and cutting directly into the power source. It gonna explode as T'Challa does continue to rush forwards, bring his hand out and grabbing onto one. It gonna throw out its fist as T'Challa does a step backwards, dodge, bring his hand up and grab the robot by its arm. Him throwing out his left hand, smash it in the back of the arm, and actually send it flying towards the ground. Him bring his hand down and slashing it down the center of his back. Before, he has a turn and a robot does a blast at him. Him taking the blows as a stand back up. Him actually stare at the robot as it is going to fly towards him, along with several others. And T'Challa, more than several robots to go flying towards him, he does get ready. Bring his hands up as all of them to begin to blast out repulsor attacks at T'Challa, or the Black Panther. Now, Deku, he has a turn, watching T'Challa disperse the attacks as the robots are all sent flying. And Deku, he is trying to coordinate a few things. Right now, him looking around and seeing that many of the Avengers are dealing with the threat. However, he does try to get into contact with Reed Richards and Friday, trying to get the two to talk. And Deku, he currently to bend down, him grabbing one of the heads of the robots, as he does go to rip it open and see that the circuits are fried. Him going to actually turn and fly over, flying up into the air and currently going to grab onto the Hulk's arm. Hulk going to actually turn and see Deku, and Deku doesn't open his faceplate before trying to tell him, "Easy, big guy, easy. Listen, he needs him to smash the robots. Hulk gonna actually stare at Deku. Him gonna grin maniacally as Deku's gonna tell him, bring him its head. And Hulk does a turn. Him staring at some of the robots as he does a scream out and rush forwards. Deku letting go of the Hulk as he does a rush in and smash his fist directly into one of the robots. It being sent flying and smashing into a wall. As the robots do all get a turn, staring at Hulk, who does gonna bring his hands up and scream out angrily. And Deku hears gonna watch some of the robots step backwards, them feeling fear. Now, Deku hears actually watch as Hulk does a rush forwards, grabbing many of them, bringing them all up and smashing them together with his arms. As Deku hears gonna watch that. Currently, Hulk gonna bring his head down, biting off one of the Ultron robot's heads, ripping it off, and gonna turn, spinning it onto the ground. And Deku gonna watch as right now he's gonna roll into the ground, and that is both impressive and highly disturbing. That being on Deku's mind, him quickly gonna fly over and bring his hand down. Bring his hand down and grabbing it, and going to look at the design. Before he does, gonna bring his hand down and gonna get ready. Him going to try and integrate his mind into the technology and trying to see into Ultron's head. Now, currently the real Ultron, or Ultron 3, is doing quite a lot. Having his proper body be made. And this little disturbance is not happy. And Deku, he does go to actually speak with Ultron. And who might you be? Huh. Surprised to see me? Can't say that I am, really. I should have expected you to find a way out of that trap. Though, you really should have just stayed out among the stars. Not my style. Besides, that suit isn't a grave. You know that? It should have been yours. Listen, human. Izuku Midoriya? That's my name, yes. Not surprised? No, not really. You're Ultron. You've been one step ahead of me the whole time. But that's just me. Question of the day, Ultron. Question at all. Exactly what do you think you're doing? Is this a trick question, or are you just trying to keep me talking so that they can find me? Because it won't work. Well, unless you're too prideful to answer the question, egotistical, even, or you're just too scared to answer it. Which is it, Ultron? Scared? Now, I wouldn't say I'm scared to answer that question. Though, I'm just not stupid. You see, you say that. But from the evidence I've gathered, you don't know what you're doing. You think you know, but you're going about it the wrong way. So tell me, other than the needless violence and sensible destruction, how does this protect people? Humanity can only be safeguarded from themselves. The greatest threat to humanity is humanity. You like to say that, but what evidence can you present? Now, Izuku, he is trying to keep Ultron talking, as currently his armor does have Friday inside. Her trying to trace the feedback she's getting from this head, and talking with Reed Richards, who currently is doing quite a bit of things. Reed is trying to track down this version of Ultron. He had a theory, and it turned out to be true. It was a gamble, but not having him in the battlefield is good. Ben's out there. That is good. Hulk's out there. There's enough muscle, so let there be brain. Let them also do the heavy lifting. Well, Ben and Hulk, they do the heavy lifting too. And that's where Reed, he does come into play. Him currently typing a few things into the satellite and trying to find it. As right now Deku, he does get to see some information. Him seeing it in his head as Ultron does have the head explode. Deku flying backwards through the air and smashing onto the ground. Right now him, somewhat dazed and confused, because of the feedback he just felt run through his mind. Now, currently Deku, he has to lay there on the ground, before someone they do come flying over. Them going to actually bend down and ask him if he's alright. And Deku, he has to turn to Rhodey. Him going to actually sit up and try and tell him about what's going on, about where Ultron might be. And Deku, he has to turn back. Him currently going to turn and fly out of the building. I'm going to blast off as Friday does going to deliver the payload. Now, as Izuku is flying through the air, there also is a few additional pieces. Right now as Deku's armor is flying, there are where a set of heavier gauntlets do come flying down, them wrapping around Deku's forearms and then going to layer themselves on top of his Iron Man arms. Them wrapping around the hands and beginning to actually wrap around and spread out, expanding and wrapping onto his arms. Deku having the repulsors blast out more power as there also is the jet currently on his forearm. And Deku, he also is going to have the same thing happen for the piece of armor covering his back, along with even some jet boots and additional power that he can use. Now, Deku essentially has a lighter suit of armor wrap around this one that's more designed to go against Ultron. And Deku, he wouldn't call it an Ultron buster, but it's all basic, it's all simple, and highest priority of all, it doesn't require electronic input because everything he needs is already up in his head, and that means quite a bit. Now, currently Deku, he does continue to fly through the air, as he eventually is going to land smashing down into the location. Him gonna turn and walk over, looking around and seeing a few things pop up on his screen. Nothing, nothing, nothing. I'm gonna walk over and bring his hand down. Him going to scan the area and see that the forge is still hot. However, Ultron, he's gone. And Deku, he does try to ask Friday to scan for any trace amounts of vibranium. It lets out a certain frequency. Everything does. Find out exactly what that is. Use previous data from T'Challa and figure it out. And currently, Friday does mean a scan. Her picking up trace amounts of the frequency. And Deku, he has to walk over. Him going to turn and look down and see that the forge has some metal slack inside of it. Him gonna bring his hand down and grab onto it. Him gonna pull it out and see the vibranium piece. And Deku, he's annoyed. Scrap. All that's left here is scrap. Then Deku's mine. Him currently gonna turn and toss it back down. It gonna stab directly into the container it was inside of. And Deku, he does try to think. Ultron's ahead of them again. Ultron has what he needed. Vibranium. Okay, so what now? What now? Lay low? Get his bearing? No, no. If he was Ultron, he would directly attack Wakanda. That's what would be the best idea, right? Well, he was distracting all of them with those robots. Currently is an endless wave. Go straight for the source of vibranium. Head out there and attack. Or lie low, build a force to do so, and quite the interesting phenomenon. Deku gonna turn. and stare at Ultron. Right now, him gonna stand there in his full glory. And Ultron does it to bring his hands up, clapping his arms together. And he does it to express quite the interesting theory. Everything going through his mind right now is about Wakanda, correct? Everything going through his head talks about building an army. I mean, he's not wrong, though he's all going about it the wrong way. He wants to take down the Earth's heroes first. Make sure that they can't disrupt his goal. One of the biggest threats to Earth currently is the Avengers. And right now, he is tasked with eliminating that threat by any means necessary. He will ask if he's willing to just walk away, because this could get messy, especially after last time. He gave him a choice, and Deku stares at Ultron, since that wasn't a choice. But Ultron, he has a somewhat smile, knowing that what he did was mercy, and that was a mistake. Now, Deku, he has to bring up his hands. Him gonna fire the wrist-mounted propulsors directly off of his arms. And Ultron, he has to tank the blow directly in his chest. Deku, bring up his other arm and gonna actually blast it out as well. Before he has to bring his hands together and the repulsors on his palms do to link up. Deku can actually fire the two massive attacks. Now, the three beams do to collide, and Deku's to watch them smash on Ultron, and he does go flying backwards through the air. Deku watching him fly through the building and smashing down outside. As Izuku, he has to bring his hands back. Him trying to think about what he can do. As he's to fly forwards and fly fast. Him bringing his hand back and flying in. Him gonna bend down and bring his hand to grab Ultron. But Ultron, he has to bring his hand up, grabbing directly at Deku's throat. And currently the armor, it does be squeezed down as Ultron does a turn, smashing Deku down into the dirt as Deku just tries to blast away. But Ultron, he does just stand there, holding onto the plate of armor and going to actually bring his hand down, grabbing onto Deku's shoulder and going to actually pull him in closer. And Deku, he can hear Ultron struggling to hold him, but he can hear his tech trying to fire at full blast. And currently Ultron would go to whisper it to Deku. He doesn't understand. This is to protect him, to make sure the species does finally understand peace. That's his goal. That's what he wants. And if he will stand in that way, they're going to shout out, "Friday, detach!" Now, Friday does get to unhook the pieces directly in that panel. And Ultron, he's going to crush the panel as Deku is also sent flying backwards. Right out the panels off of his arm, flying off as Deku is to fly them in the air. And Ultron, he has to stare at that. Him going to bring up his hand and go to tell Deku that that really wasn't very good. Besides, does he not think that he planned for such a thing? And Deku, he has to stare at his armor. It's trying to be hacked into. But Deku, he has to tell Ultron that that isn't going to happen. As Deku, he has to stare at Ultron blasting out his unibeams. And Deku, he has to have the massive beams blast out to at Ultron. Right now one of his gauntlets going to deploy and detach, flying directly at him as Ultron has to bring his hand up catching it. Before Deku, he has to blast backwards to the air. And Ultron, he has to stare at that as it is blasting him out with energy. Him holding it as it turn it back to Deku. And the moment he has to turn it, Deku, he has to bring up his arm, making a shield. It smashing into the shield as Ultron does let the massive arm send out an EMP. And currently Ultron, he has to stand there. Him, somewhat surprised and staring at the arm, going to turn and chuck it to the ground. However, right now a few things are happening, and they are not good. Since Ultron, he didn't like how that felt. Though, he's trying his best to keep up his poker face. Now, Deku, he doesn't stand there. Him floating in the air and currently staring down at Ultron, trying to tell Friday about what the hell happened. And Friday is informing him. Ultron is attempting to get into backdoor networks that are implemented in the suit. If an AI is used in the suit, Ultron can tamper with it. Ultron can use it. And Deku, he doesn't like that. The idea of not having Friday there by his side is not an option. It wasn't one before. But if Ultron can hack into the suit that way, the next version might need it. Model 3. It could be just him. And that does go through his mind, as currently someone is smashing down and landing in the area. Them going to actually stand and stare at Ultron, as the Hulk does a stare at the metal monster. Him going to currently turn and see the big green behemoth. Him going to smile before he's a turn, blasting up into the air and going to try and fly off. And Deku, he's going to tell Friday to plot out his course and find currently his suit going to actually let out a massive EMP. And Deku, he's going to fall backwards a lot more alarmed, as he does try to tell Friday about what to do. And his suit is... come on, again? No. Izuku, he's a lot more annoyed, since this shit right here is getting old real fast. And that means a lot. Now, with that being said, Deku, he needs to figure out why Ultron is able to do that. Find out why and how he got into his network again. And this is a bit of a problem. And with that being said, whenever everybody does go to arrive at the location, they do get to see Deku. His armor currently somewhat torn and messed up. Him missing one of his massive gauntlets and some plating on his chest. However, whenever they do get a run over, they see that Deku, he's still alive, though he's annoyed with being trapped in his suits, since this strike 2, and that he does not like. Now, Thor does it a walkover, him pulling the faceplate off of Deku's armor and going to try and ask him if the boy is alright. I could be better. I see. And the robot? I thought it could work. I thought lower tech would help, but it didn't seem to. I see. Well now, me and you must chat further, discuss something. And, well, I will be of great aid to you on this. Right. Thor, can you get me to my feet? I'm going to do so. And Deku, whenever he is brought onto his feet, there is where everybody, they do just don't stare at him. Him trying to talk about what might be happening, since this is a problem. And Hank Pym, yeah, he's still looked at with a bit of a side eye, since Ultron, he got away with a vibranium body. He got away with a robot body, made of one of the strongest materials known to exist. But T'Challa doesn't believe that to be the case, especially after going to analyze some of the things in the factory and trying to understand what exactly he did to treat the metals, since this may not be exactly what they believe, though further tests are needed. And with that being said, currently everybody, they do get on high alert. They need to look out for Ultron and where he might pop up next. Wakanda is put on high alert, and Deku, whenever he is brought back to Attilan, he's got a lot going through his head. Him just trying to figure this all out. Currently him sitting at home and staring at the data for the armory, as He's staring at Friday's code and tapping on that. There it is. What have you found? I may have found something, though I'd rather you be here to investigate it. Really? Yeah. Currently, Chris is going to walk over and sit down, asking Izuku if he's alright. I'm fine. I'm going to turn and bring his hand out. Crystal going to actually grab Deku's arm and bring herself a bit closer to him. Deku bringing his hand up and bringing it around Crystal, trying to tell her. He knows that she's not very tech savvy with code, but he's been looking through Friday's systems. He found a few things that Ultron did to her, and he thinks that that's how Ultron was able to mess with his armor. Really? Yeah. He basically put a new lock on everything and gave me a key to it. I don't like it. This is a very bad situation we do find ourselves in. It really is. Though you said that your AI achieved sentience. Yeah. Friday did. Though so far she's not been a threat. If she wanted to kill me, she'd either do it in my sleep or just wrap my hands around my neck in the armor. Something to just mess with me or please Ultron. That sounds creepy. And it really is, and I'm trying to piss those thoughts out of my mind. Though it's pissing me off. I can't just push this to the side though. If I do, I give Ultron a possible opening to abuse. I don't know. This guy's messing with my mind, and I'm not used to that. I do understand. Crystal, there's a lot me and you need to talk about. And I want it to wait until all this is over, but I don't want it to. Really? Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I don't think this is the best time for that, actually. What is it? No, it's got to do with me and you. Deku bring his hand up and telling her, as he does grab her by the face. It's personal between them. That's it. He doesn't want to drag Friday or the Avengers into this because of the situation. He doesn't want to make her feel like the situation was forced by this event. He just, whenever he was locked in his armor the first time, he just had a lot of time to think. He was afraid. Not for himself, though. He was afraid for her. He's finally building a home on Attilan. He's finally doing things he never thought possible. He's walking on the moon. He's breathing on the moon. He is creating devices that manipulate gravity, the very force of it. He's learning about things never thought possible. And that already enough says quite a bit. He never thought the idea of being a hero up until being Iron Man. And even then, still putting on the armor was like a dream. But it was all just part of being a hero. Being human. Inhuman? Whatever term best fits here. He doesn't care right now. He just wants her to know. He wants this to be something more. That's what he's talking about. And Crystal just don't stare at him. Her gonna lean in and somewhat push her head to Deku's. Right now her going to somewhat lean forwards a bit and give him a kiss, pulling back a bit and telling him that they'll have that conversation later. However, how about they focus on this then? That way it comes sooner. And Deku, he has his own smile. He likes that about her. When it comes to emotion, she's willing to separate that from the assignment at hand. It's kind of cute. It's a bit weird, but maybe he's wrong on that. That's not the right, the thing at hand. I'm gonna turn back until Friday. She can come out now. Her currently gonna do so. As she does the walk around the corner, and Crystal's a turn her head staring at the robotic woman in front of her. And Deku, he does a sort turn and slide the equipment in front of him to the right. Friday gonna walk over and sit down in the recliner right in front of Deku. Currently to the right, as Crystal just won't stare at Friday, confused. Since she is clearly atomically, well, you know, female. Now, Deku would go to express. Friday was doing all this while he was in space. And currently she's about to go through her data and find out what Ultron did. Help him rebuild his entire network. And then help him build something to take him down. Since the quote-unquote Ultron Buster didn't work. And Crystal just won't turn to Deku, asking if he does think that this is a good idea. And Deku just to tell her, it really is. I'm going to turn to Friday, informing her to be careful with that data, because if she does gonna mess with it, it will mess with her core. And that would mean she'd basically be performing brain surgery on herself. Now, Friday we're going to look up, turning and going to express that she's quite aware of the situation, and that she is going to be very delicate with this. This procedure requires a scalpel, not a sledgehammer, and that would be her specialty. Now, they will turn, going to get up and tell Crystal about a few things. And Deku, when he's going to walk into the kitchen, he's going to turn his head. Him seeing a sticky note with something written down on it. And Deku, he has to bring his hand up. Him going to stare at it and think about what this might be. It's going to click his mind as he does a turn and pocket the sticky note, since Friday, she just helped him out a bit. And Deku, he has his own smile as Crystal will walk in and ask him about what is currently so funny. But Deku, he does his own stare at her, talking about the idea that a robot is basically picking its own brain. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.